About a week ago, I took Bear to the park. It's our kind of early morning ritual. Two old men doing laps. Then we go into the gated little area where usually all the dogs play. And Bear and I were just waking up. Slowly, I was drinking a coffee. Then in walks my good friend, Dougie, and his two pups, Kiri and Waffles. It was a surprise to see them, so we start having a conversation. Then all of a sudden, into the park roars this cop car. It pulls into the park just outside the fence. Two cops vomit outside of the car. Everyone in the inner circle scatters, runs like rats out of a trash can. Doug and I slowly gather our dogs because I think we're just both thinking, it's too beautiful morning, it's early, we don't want to move. The cops slowly approach us. I go to grab Bear by the collar and put him on leash, thinking that we're going to be ushered out of our circle. The cops approach us and say, "Hey, fellas, you're not going anywhere. Let me see some ID." Now, Doug and I both, being gentlemen, offer up our ID. The cop's probably in his late 20s, kind of a big dude, and this female cop. But the dude was kind of running the show. Now, at that point, Doug and I are probably thinking, we can have our dogs off leash before 9. What law could we possibly be breaking? But they start to inform us that we can't have our dogs inside this little circle because there's signs posted on the fence that say no dogs because they're trying to protect the grass. So the cops go back to their car, hold us in the little circle. No other dog owners in the circle anymore. It's just me, Doug, our 3 dogs. The cops hold us there for 40 minutes, maybe an hour. The cops begrudgingly inform us that their superior told them that they have to give us a summons for not reading the sign and having our dogs inside a fenced-in piece of grass. Bear played with the female officer who liked Bear, but was kind of confused as to why she was even being part of this. Doug and I just took these little pink slips that they gave us with our kind of court date on it, and we took these papers, we looked at each other, immediately decided we are definitely not paying a fine. We are definitely going to fight this, and we're going to court. And a week later, both of us went into Manhattan to the courthouse, 9:30 in the a.m., 16th floor of the courthouse. Beautiful old building, beautiful elevators, loved it. The people there are actually very nice, security guards, all those people, very, very nice. Doug had arrived earlier than me, so he was already in the courtroom, along with many others who had committed a variety of illegal activities, smoking marijuana, disorderly conduct, anything that you can imagine that is the most petty crime ever. There's also a group of lawyers who are court appointed, of course, that are each a character unto themselves. Okay, so I go over, Doug is already at one of the benches sitting, so I go to him, we sit down, and we patiently wait, our pink legal slips in hand. We're both wondering, how's this going to go? I think we're in there 20 minutes waiting. Different procedures are going on. Eventually an officer starts yelling out names, so-and-so, this and that. My name is called. He says, go to the hallway and a lawyer will come and see you. I go to the hall. Doug is still inside the courtroom. Name hasn't been called yet, even though he was there before us, which is a kind of interesting point of the story. Lawyers are kind of going up and down the line, trying to find which person that they were assigned to. Terry, my lawyer, comes over. Never met him. Terry, very nice gentleman, nice suit. Think of like a kind of poor man's Clint Eastwood. Gray hair, very thin, good-looking dude. Takes me into a room. We have a powwow. He basically informs me that because of the way that the summons was written, they actually don't mention in the summons that a dog was present. So this will probably get dismissed. But apparently the judge, who's new, nobody really knows her, but they do know that she is a little bit aggressive, let's say. So typically doesn't always dismiss and sometimes actually charges big fine. And if that happens, basically my options are I can pay the fine or I say I'm not guilty. Then it needs to get pushed to a trial. I'd have to come back to actually litigate this thing. So I said, hopefully she dismisses it, but if not, I'm taking this thing to court. He's like, sounds good. Shake Terry's hand. I'm like, Terry, it's Valentine's Day. We got this. We get up out of the room, I go back into the courtroom, Doug is still patiently waiting, name still hasn't been called. Fast forward, finally, my name gets called. Terry's waiting up right in front of the judge. I go up to the microphone. Almost before I get to the microphone, Terry's like, Your Honor, da-da-da-da. The summons doesn't seem to work because they didn't ever state that a dog was present. The judge says, You're right, case dismissed. It took less than a minute for her to dismiss my case. I exit the courtroom. I eagerly text Doug, I'm like, we got this. We're out. You'll get dismissed. Let's go get some coffee, breakfast. I go downstairs. I stand outside the courthouse waiting for Doug to come out. Then I get the text. Oh my, I get the text. And sure enough, the judge said, nope, you are going to get penalized for this. You either have to pay the fee or we're going to take you to court. Now, Doug had a different lawyer. That's besides the point. The argument was his summons was written slightly differently, and therefore he was caught on a technicality and needed to be penalized for it. Now, Doug actually had a conversation with the judge asking for her to outline the exact reasoning of why his summons was going to be held up and that I got off scot-free. And she did not like that he was kind of pushing back a little bit. So the judge said, Dougie, we're throwing the whole book at you. So he ends up having to pay $25 because he didn't read a sign in a park. Doug was dumbstruck. Tucks his tail between his legs, goes downstairs. We meet up. I felt kind of guilty because I was getting off. He wasn't. We had to go get a cup of coffee or some breakfast because at that point, it was almost lunchtime. We're starving. He then went back into Brooklyn. Doug graciously bought me a cup of coffee and then a breakfast sandwich from a local cafe. And Doug at one point texts me from the courtroom that the judge had said my summons didn't have, any reference to the dog. And she said, "And you, sir, are not a dog." And that is how I know that I am not a dog, because the law told me so. It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever been a part of, but I'm so glad that I had a buddy with me to experience it. Thanks for listening.
Guilty or not guilty? The answer to that question is the end of most mystery stories. But in witness for the prosecution, it is only the beginning of a series of climaxes that I defy you to guess. You'll talk about this picture all right, but you'll never tell the ending to your friends, because you won't want to spoil their excitement and their fun.